We've got the top 10 shooting guards for this season in fantasy basketball coming up next on Beat the Odds. Don't go anywhere. Hello sports fans, and welcome back to another episode of Beat the Odds. If you're a fan of this type of content, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so that way you'll be notified whenever we drop an episode. We are going to dive into our top 10 shooting guard lists here. A couple of things to note, of course, we are looking at 9 category leagues, so that way turnovers are included. And of course, these are my predictions for the 23-24 season. With that out of the way here, let's jump right into number 10. We have OG Anunoby. Over the season here, last year, he posted 16.8 points per game with 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2.8 threes, 1.9 steals, 0.7 blocks, 2 turnovers on 48% shooting from the field and 84% from the line. OG has established himself as a lockdown defender, ranking first overall last year with 1.9 steals per game. There should be a larger offensive role for him as well this year with Fred VanVleet leaving for Houston. I'm in on Anunoby for slightly better counting stats both on offense and defense, with slightly worse field goal percentages with the increased attention that he's likely going to face this year. Let's go to number 9. We have Desmond Bane. Over the season here, last season he posted 21.5 points per game, 5 rebounds, 4.4 assists, 2.9 threes, 1 steal, 0.4 blocks, 2.2 turnovers on 48% shooting from the field and 88% from the line. For the first 25 games of the season, I wouldn't be surprised to see Bane as a top 10 player in the league, not just at the shooting guard position. Of course, once Ja returns from his suspension, we will really see how Bane's season should pan out for the rest of the year, but I expect contributions in every category outside stocks as he climbs the ranks on his way to the NBA's elite. Let's go to number 8. We have Kawhi Leonard. Over the season here, last season, he posted 23.8 points per game with 6.5 rebounds and 3.9 assists, 2 3-pointers, 1.4 steals, 0.5 blocks, 1.7 turnovers on 51% shooting from the field and 87% from the line. Are we going to get 60 games from Kawhi this year? Well, he hasn't reached the 60-game plateau for 8 seasons now, so my money is on no. Drafting Kawhi means you need to keep an IL spot open, and you need to be active to make changes on the fly. But if Kawhi is healthy down the stretch, he's an absolute game changer, capable of carrying a fantasy squad throughout the playoffs. To number 7, we got DeJounte Murray. Over the season here last year, he had 20.5 points per game with 5.3 rebounds, 6.1 assists, 1.8 threes, 1.5 steals, 0.3 blocks, 2.2 turnovers on 46% shooting from the field and 83% from the line. Is Murray miscast as an off guard? Is playing along Trae Young capping his potential here? Perhaps, but with a lack of another bona fide scoring option outside of Trae, there is a lot of opportunity for Murray to further increase his production from last year. Murray's wingspan and his quickness will continue to put defensive pressure on opposing offenses and will lead to elite steal numbers as well. Let's go to number 6. We have James Harden. Over the season here last year, he posted 21 points per game with 6.1 rebounds and 10.7 assists, 2.8 threes, 1.2 steals, 0.5 blocks, 3.4 turnovers on 44% shooting from the field and 88% from the line. I really struggled trying to figure out where Harden would fit on this list. Now, if he plays, he's going to be a 34-year-old past his prime, but still capable of putting up 20-10 on any given night, which is a mark reserved for a very small handful of guards. Now, if Harden's trade situation sorts itself out in short order, then his ADP of 26 will be well worth it. Let's move over to number 5. We have Mikal Bridges. Over the season here last year, he posted 20.1 points per game with 4.4 rebounds, 3.3 assists, 2 3-pointers, 1.1 steals, 0.7 blocks, 1.5 turnovers on 47% shooting from the field and 90% from the line. Bridges is entering his first full season being the number 1 option on the Nets. He is a talented offensive threat capable of scoring at any level. And when defenses are likely going to try to lock him down, he's also a capable passer. So I'd expect Bridges to approach 25 points per game this season, as he should be a lock as a top 25 fantasy producer here this year. Let's go to number 4. We have Kyrie Irving. Over the season here last year, he posted 27.1 points per game with 5.1 rebounds and 5.5 assists, 3.1 three-pointers, 1.1 steals, 0.8 blocks, 2.1 turnovers on 49% shooting from the field and 91% from the line. Kyrie, like Harden, carries inherent drama risk, and Kyrie, like DeJounte Murray, is paired with an all-world point guard and is expected to assume a major share of the scoring load for the team. Now, however, Kyrie, unlike both Harden and Murray, is a much more polished offensive threat and will challenge a 50-40-90 shooting line all season long. To number 3 we go. We have Donovan Mitchell. Over the season here last year, he posted 28.3 points per game with 4.3 rebounds and 4.4 assists, 3.6 three-pointers, 1.5 steals, 0.4 blocks, 2.6 turnovers on 48% shooting from the field and 87% from the line. Mitchell should lead all shooting guards in points scored this season. He's also likely going to be amongst the leaders in three-pointers made and steals. He's the number 1 option on a team who's going to be a contender in the East, and he's poised to grab some MVP votes this year as long as he continues to shine in Cleveland's starting lineup. Let's move on to number 2. We have Anthony Edwards. Over the season here last year, he posted 24.6 points per game with 5.8 rebounds and 4.4 assists, 2.7 three-pointers made, 1.6 steals, 0.7 blocks, 3.3 turnovers on 46% shooting from the field, 76% from the line. Edwards is on the verge of superstardom. He is one of the biggest stars under 25, and he's still only 22. He's the number 1 option in Minnesota. He will threaten 30 points every night, and he's committed to playing lockdown defense. His shooting percentages and turnover will limit his upside, but it's not really uncommon for players as young as Edwards to have those type of numbers. I would draft him in the late first, early second round with confidence. Now, before we get to our number 1 selection, I'd like to go over some honorable mentions. First up is DeMar DeRozan. Last season, he posted 24.5 points per game with 4.6 rebounds and 5.1 assists. We have Jordan Poole with 20.4 points per game with 2.7 rebounds and 4.5 assists. And Jaylen Brown with 26.6 points per game last season with 6.9 rebounds and 3.5 assists. And now that we have those out of the way, let's move over to number 1. We have Devin Booker. 27.8 points per game last season, 4.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 2.1 three-pointers, 1 steal, 0.3 blocks, 2.7 turnovers per game last year on 49% shooting from the field and 86% from the line. Yes, Booker's offense will be capped with the addition of Beal and the return of Durant for a full season. With the departure of Chris Paul to Golden State, however, that puts more of a demand for Booker to be a playmaker. And despite the potential dip in scoring, I would expect Booker to cover 6 assists on a nightly basis with elite ratios across the board. And that's going to do it here for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like on this video and, of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. That's going to be it for us for now, though. We are going to sign off, but I'll see you guys on our next episode.